the Irrational Confidence Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're talking college football, and it is week number 5. We are into conference play. The games are set. Teams are going on the road in some hostile environments. I'm joined by my friend, the guy who tried to make a belt out of watches, but just found his giant waste of time. My co-host Fresh, how you doing, buddy?
Hats doing great. Real exciting week of games. We probably have 10, 12 we could have talked about if we wanted to. But also intriguing is how winning streaks on the line this week and the upcoming weeks from now on. Number one, longest winning streak, home winning streak in the nation is the Georgia Bulldogs, 34 straight. They host Alabama this weekend. Who knows? We'll see how that keeps going or not. Number two, Washington Huskies, 22 straight home wins. They're hosting Ohio State. Number 3, Oregon has 18 straight home wins. Next week, they get Indiana. Alabama and Mizzou have 14 straight. Alabama's next home game is Vanderbilt. Mizzou's next home game this week is UMass. That's going to be a win. But after that, they get Alabama. Win streak potentially in line there. Indiana has 12 straight. Their next 3 home games, Michigan State, UCLA, Wisconsin. Just go ahead and make that 15. And then we have Iowa. Iowa's won 7 straight. They host the Hoosiers this week. If they extend to 8, we can rethink Iowa football in modern terms. But a lot of interesting streaks on the line coming around. One other of note that I want to throw in, Georgia Tech has won 8 straight technically at Bobby Dodd Stadium, but they don't have a winning streak of 9 straight because they lost a home game in the Benz versus Notre Dame last year. So location is depending, but home game technically would not have them included. But there are some streaks that could be in peril in the next couple of weeks, depending on how those games play out.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting time to watch. This is when I think by the end of the month of October here, as we're wrapping up the month of September, we're really going to see what teams are going to be real true playoff contenders and what teams are kind of masquerading as a possible playoff contender. As Randy Macho Man Savage once said, the cream does rise to the top. There, my friend. Fresh, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get notified every time we drop a new episode. Stick with us all season long. Love having you guys as subscribers. But Fresh, as we're rolling into it, the LSU Tigers are going to travel. They're 4-0 on the year, 1-0 in SEC play. They're going to number 13, Ole Miss, who's 2-0 in SEC play. Right now, time of record, Ole Miss is a 1.5 point favorite. Over under is set at 54.5. LSU is the 1.5 point favorite. 54.5 right now. Fresh, Ole Miss is a different team with Chambliss as the quarterback. There's a lot of questions now being arose about LSU. Are they really as good as their record is at 4-0? Because now we know Clemson is a definite fraud and a joke of a college football team. Ole Miss, they're 4-0, but I don't really feel like they're 4-0. What you got for me?
Ole Miss is the first 2 games, just throw them away, whatever. They are what they are. Beating Arkansas, their offense played well. They got some lucky breaks, a couple of turnovers, missed field goal. They kind of survived Arkansas to get their only conference win of the season. But then last week versus Tulane, which some people think, including myself, they were a pretty good contender for the Group of 5 playoff spot. They eviscerated them. They emasculated them. They absolutely destroyed them. And the offense, you saw it take another level with Chambliss as the full-time starter and not Simmons. But now it's a real big test. I mean, LSU, this is not a high-flying offense. At least they haven't shown it so far. They are a grinded-out, physical football team. Physical defense is going to pop you in the mouth. But injuries last week, a couple of weeks ago versus Florida to the Weeks boys, kind of have you wondering, are they all healthy and ready to go? And do they have the speed in that linebacker in that second level to be able to contain Chambliss and force him to throw? He's shown a lot of ability in the pocket, outside the pocket. It shows their talent at Ferris State. They be more of a seasoned quarterback and not just a freshman or a one. We all had doubts on Simmons, who had 1 drive the entire season, and that was versus Georgia in the rain, if he was actually the real guy. So Chambliss starting to show the team has played around him. They bought in. The offense sort of kicked and started to click. The offensive line's playing well. Running game, passing game. Still That defense versus Arkansas was abysmal for Ole Miss. If LSU can attack them, now Taylor Green's much more mobile than Nussmeier, but if they can attack it vertically, horizontally, run the ball, and take those and try to take the gloves off, this can become a shootout. And last time LSU and Ole Miss met in Oxford, it was Jackson Dart, Jaden Daniels going back and forth. I think they had over 100 points and over 1,000 yards total offense. I'm not going to say we're going to see that, but we're going to see a lot of points being scored. But this, to your point, this is the game that LSU's offense has to show up. They have to find ways to sustain drives, to score touchdowns. We can't have 13 offensive points like they put up for Florida. Even though Florida's offense is good, we can't have that slappy nonsense. They've got to find ways to deliver. We've seen teams can score in Clemson, teams can score in Florida. It's time for LSU to show put up or shut up time offensively. I know Nussmeier's been battling some injuries, but you got to show it. You got to deliver. You got to make it happen this week and take that 1-0, get yourself 2-0 on the league and really supplant yourself as the contender. Because if not, you're done. Now, the SEC and the playoff spots, obviously, with Oklahoma and John Mateer, it took a hit. So you got to take advantage of that and sort of supplant 2-0 in the league, 2 big wins. It really puts you ahead of Oklahoma, who's played last week of the year, but gives you some extra cushion in the SEC across the board. You got to make it happen. Lane Kiffin, a big chance to really show everyone that last year was what it was, but you've completely overhauled and rebuilt the entire team over one offseason, got yourself back and built a sustainable program at Ole Miss and a reason why you'll never leave. If you lose this game, there's going to start being doubts of like, all right, well, it's great. You score points against bad teams. Are you going to show up consistently? 1 year here, 1 year there is great, but we want to see a consistent football team. You go out and beat LSU. That puts you a Sugar Bowl 2 years ago, on the cusp of the playoff last year, but you lost to Florida, and then puts you back in that conversation for a playoff now. So this is a program-defining game for Ole Miss. LSU has to do it to maintain their pace, but Ole Miss has to define the program under Lane Kiffin and where they're going, that every year in and year out, they can rebuild and they can reload in the transfer portal and then keep sprinkling in some recruits and developing them along the way. When it comes down to it, defense is going to be the name of the game. Can a team get a stop? And I have much more faith in LSU's defense to get a stop than Ole Miss's defense. And that's why I'm taking the LSU Tigers to go into Oxford and get a win. It won't be a blowout. There's a reason why the spread is so low. I just think LSU is going to survive and they're going to find a way to win. They have the more veteran quarterback and they have the more experienced and athletic and talented defense that will prove the difference on Saturday afternoon. LSU 34, Ole Miss 31, and Ryan Kelly, the Tigers, survive to play another day.
Fresh right now, Ole Miss is giving me massive Fraudville, Missouri vibes right now. And I know that they have 2 wins on the year, and they beat Tulane. All right with that. What I'm going back to is the barely squeaking past Kentucky at Kroger Field. And then on top of it, the time of letting Taylor Green just run all over them in Oxford.
I completely forgot to beat Kentucky. That's right. That was a horrible game. You're right.
Right. So this is why, again, they beat a group of 5 team, which, again, I'm going to give them a little bit of credit there. I need to see Ole Miss, to not put them, I'd say I'm getting vibes from them. I'm not calling them Missouri Fraudville as well, because Fraudville lives in the state of Missouri, as we all know. It's that vibe of you're good, but you think that you're better than what you are. It's the opening act at a concert where you go and they have 2 good songs, but then you all of a sudden they get put on stage as a headliner at a concert and a great concert. I need to see them have a masterful performance against a team like LSU. If you beat LSU in Oxford with this LSU defense that they have, because again, we can talk about until we're blue in the face about the LSU Tigers and their offense there. That defense has come to play week in, week out. I've been very impressed by that defense. They've allowed a grand total of 37 points in 4 games there. And again, not giving up more than 10 points in a game. Now, they haven't played anyone, so if they can hold Ole Miss to that too, I'll be very, very impressed. But again, if Ole Miss puts some points up on this LSU Tiger defense, then I can kind of say, okay, you're better than what I thought you are. You're able to you're a possible contender. Maybe we need to put you on the headlining stage. but I just don't feel like they deserve it just yet. LSU, I need to see you consistently run the ball. What Kentucky has done and what Arkansas was able to do was run the football against the Ole Miss defense. Lane is going to want to turn this into a shootout, which makes me intrigued enough by this game. LSU is going to want to slow this down, make it a defensive battle there. I just want to see which side wins out. If this game winds up being over 30 points for each team, I think it favors Ole Miss. I think if the game stays under 30 points, it favors LSU in this situation. Whichever one wins out, whichever one plays their style, LSU, you got to protect Nessmeyer. The offensive line looked good in the Clemson game, but then you see little things starting to show their cracks on that LSU offensive line. I need to see consistent offensive line play by LSU. I like the Tigers a little bit better. I like the Tigers defense better. I think defense always travels. LSU is going to win this game to me. I think it's a touchdown game. I got them about 28-21 in this one.
And let's not also remember the social media factor of Lane Kiffin's daughter officially going live and announcing that she's dating Whit Weeks. I'm not sure if that is a psyop from Lane to have his daughter announce that to distract the LSU linebacker because he is a stud, or is this a flex to mess with her dad, but that she is now dating an LSU linebacker, or a way to fuel her dad to run the score up. So either way, the drama, the social world element of it is going to be intriguing to add to the fun flair on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. As long as they're not playing hiding deli meats at the local grocery store, I'm okay. All right, Fresh. We need to look at the next one going in here because this one's intriguing to me. I think this has a possibility of being a blowout. But again, I also don't want to be a victim of the moment and just say, just because they did something last week means that they'll do the same thing this week. I'm talking about Indiana. They're 4-0 on the year, 1-0, coming off a huge blowout win against Illinois. They're going to Iowa. Difficult place to play. Hawkeyes have a defense. Right now, Indiana is a 7.5 point favorite. This line has moved 4 points this week, though. It opened up as Indiana only a 3.5 point favorite. It's up to 7.5 right now.
I will say right now, this game, the opening montage just needs to be a blurred out screen that says sensitive and explicit content. Kurt Signetti is on a warpath, and if what he did to Illinois at home, he's going to do to Kurt Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes. 7.5. This spread should be 14. I don't see any way that Iowa's competitive unless there's a lot of players get injured. You never want to risk injuries. Indiana has the better football team. Their front seven, their pass rush, their offense. I don't see how Iowa doesn't have a pass rush. And that's how their secondary survives. They have a pass rush. They provide balance. We saw what kind of a defense Illinois has versus Indiana, and that defense got shredded. I expect the exact same thing. Signetti's a ruthless personality in a good way. He's going to go for the jugular and put up points and dominate. This game is going to be over very early, and hence why I want the blurred out explicit content buffering in the beginning because, hide your kids, hide your wives. This could get ugly real quick out there in Iowa.
Is this one of those games that should be shown after 11 o'clock then?
This was kind of like a recorded at a later time, kind of like maybe to that SNL Christmas special at 8 o'clock. It's like most of these scenes are recorded at a later time, kind of like that, where just there's a parental warning that needs to be put on because it could get ugly real quick.
Well, then you can't watch the game at Walmart if it's got a parental warning on it. They're Fresh.
Dope.
Fresh. For those of you who've been listening to the podcast, you guys know I owe Iowa more than anyone could owe. I owe Iowa for her ham, for her beef and her lamb, and her strawberry jam and her pie. I owe Iowa more than I could ever pay. But, man, Fresh, they got to move this game to California because really this is just absolutely ridiculous that this is only sitting at a 7-point favorite. 7.5 points. Sorry about that. I'm impressed with Indiana. Now, again, I just got over saying how unimpressed I was with Ole Miss, but let me kind of hold them to the same standard here. You got one game to impress me. Great. Kirksonay, did you put everything into beating the living bejesus out of Brett Bielema at home this to me, back in the day, and again, it doesn't happen as much anymore, Fresh, but this back in the day is the perfect trap game or letdown game.
Look ahead to Oregon.
Right, they're looking ahead to Oregon. They're looking ahead here. Everyone's patting them on the back saying, wow, you really did something great. And if they were playing like Northwestern or going out to Rutgers for this game, and they weren't going up against a team that's coached with Kirk Ferentz, who is smart enough to use some of these things as motivational tips, I would feel like extremely confident of Indiana beating the 7.5. This game, though, screams like trap game to me. It does. And it just feels like a giant letdown. But if Indiana comes in, and I'm going to say this, Indiana, you don't have to like win by what they win by last time, 53
Yep.
to Illinois.
50 plus.
You guys don't have to win by 50 plus in this game. I expect you to win by 2 scores. I expect this to be a 10-point win minimum. Okay? 10-point win minimum. If Indiana doesn't cover 10.5 in this game, I'm going to say, all right, did Iowa take 2 kicks back to the house? Is there something crazy that tells me why you didn't cover that? Or did your defense just kind of quit on you in the middle of this game and it turns into a shootout and you win 49-42? I don't believe Kirk Cincinnati will let them get into that place. But again, I have a very difficult time counting out Iowa and Iowa's defense. Now, again, Indiana only has to score 17 points to win this football game at the end of the day. But if it sits around in a 17-13 game, and Iowa impressed me a little bit, and maybe Indiana is reading too much of their own press clippings. I'm with you. I don't think Cincinnati is going to do this. I would say Indiana by 10.
Yeah, this could get, I would be generous to 14, but I could see him putting the foot down. Really just want to, hey, it's recruiting. It's also making a statement because people are going to say, well, if they go out and get beat by Oregon, like, all right, yeah, but if they go get beat by Penn State, like, all right, they're 10-2. The 2 best teams that they played, they got beat. Like, you have to make a statement and really say, hey, we are truly here. We're Indiana football. Don't look at the historic label. Look at the current model. I'm a believer up to that point last week. I wasn't, but I am now a believer in Indiana football and what Kirk's done there. The team is focused and ready to play. So I have a feeling they're going to come in and take care of business.
Yeah. And they're a good thing too, Fresh. Even if Iowa gets boat raced in this game, Iowa has corn, barley, wheat, rye. Wonderful things come out of those 4 ingredients.
And this is true. There's a lot of hydration methods out of those.
Yeah, a lot of positive things out of that, Iowa. So don't take this too bad of a loss. All right, Fresh. Let's go out to Seattle, Washington. This is a big one here because as you talked about at the top of the telecast there, Washington is riding a 22-game home win streak. I think that Washington is kind of like the forgotten program ever since less than 2 years ago. Michael Penix Jr. had led them all the way to the national title game. All of a sudden, Kalen DeBoer leaves Washington. Michael Penix goes to NFL. Jed Fish, who was a great coach over at Arizona, takes over at Washington. But let's be honest, the cover was a little bit bare over there that first year. He had to take Fish had to take 2 steps back to take a couple steps forward. And it looks like Washington's starting to take those steps forward. Ohio State's 3-0 right now. They're the number 1 team in the country, according to the AP voters. Current spread is 8.5 for Ohio State. Although Fresh is weird, this game opened up as a 13.5 point favorite for the Buckeyes. It's down 5 points. It's quite a bit there. Over under set at 51.5. I'm curious to see what you think about this contest.
Well, ever since that game versus Texas, the week opening game, the big noon kickoff, where it was a defensive showing, Julian saying, but both defenses dominated. You play Grambling, you play Ohio. Like now, how has Ohio State grown since that? There was a lot of emotions coming out of that opener, a lot of inexperience on both sides of the ball. A Buckeye defense played fantastic. And that touchdown for Texas was really, really late. So it was a complete dominant effort, but it wasn't a 42-10 dominant effort. I want to see how Ohio State's grown in the past month because it basically feels like it's been a month since that game. Where has Julian Sain developed? How has the offense really clicked? Because you're not going to get much for Grambling in Ohio is going to tell you that this team has really turned the corner and shows that they have restocked, not just rebuilt. I'm really going to be paying more attention to that offense. How does Jeremiah Smith get him involved? How does that running game continue to keep evolving in that receiver corps? How do they keep layering and Sain and get comfort level? Because games are going to come for Ohio State where Sain's going to have to be counted on. Come to mind when they play Penn State here soon after. They're going to have to be locked in. You're going to have to be able to take care of it. How does this road trip, how does the team bond? This is also the first game they played outside of Columbus since national championship game in January. This is their road game. If you've ever been there, the Husky fans, the Purple Rain, they tailgate. It can be a hostile environment. So got to be ready to play, got to be locked in and focused, communicate, play for each other. And how does this team sort of respond, galvanize against each other? We all know that Ohio State has talent, and that there's no lack of that. So this team just, how is their mental psyche when they come in this ballgame? And they're ready to now take the next step on the gauntlet of the season and defend their national championship. The real questions come in the other side on Jed Fish's Washington Huskies. Can their defense get a stop? Can that Husky defense show some experience and be able to get off the field a couple times? So if they can, that gives them a chance to win this football game. Can they play some defense? Can they get a stop or two? Can they just accidentally run into forcing a punt? Like, you don't come out there with your eyes wide open and just completely terrified of the Ohio State Buckeyes coming in. And Desmond Williams and Jonah Coleman, you have to come in here and play your game. Be locked in, make the throws, challenge this defense. I mean, it's a great Buckeye defense, but you can't get intimidated by the jersey color, the helmet. You got to go out there and run your game. If you can, maybe you fall into an extra touchdown. Maybe you fall into a big third down conversion. Maybe you get them on their heels. Play free, play emotion. You have nothing to lose. No one's giving you a chance. You're at home. Come in here and just play a vibe. Take chances. Be aggressive. Challenge the Buckeyes. Do not be in fear of them being a defending national champion because a lot of that defense from last year isn't here. Yes, they have good linebackers. Yes, they have some solid players in the secondary. Yes, Caleb Downs is there. But take chances. Be reckless. You can't win if you're going to play scared. Now, this is going to be a bad way to break it down, but quote Billy Napier when he was at Louisiana, scared money don't make no money. Jed Fish does have a little cockiness to him. He has a little aggressive attitude to him. He will start taking chances. So when the play is called, play free. Don't play scared. You're looking over your shoulder that the coach is going to pull you out of the ballgame. Go out there and attack. Attack the Buckeyes. Give yourself a chance. In the end, if it gets ugly, I can think the Buckeyes are going to run the football and just try to get out. Like Brian Hartland's like, all right, let's shut it down. They have so much talent. I think eventually they will wear down the Huskies. But early in the ballgame, I think Jed Fish's Huskies will be involved. Buckeyes win by 2 touchdowns. In the end, they pull away late. But early on, it will be a fight, and it will test the Buckeyes' psyche, and I think it'll make them a stronger team down the road in the year by having to go to a hostile environment and rally early on with a little fight and a little test.
Fresh, people are going to they have a very short-term memory on this Washington Huskies program there before they left for the Big Ten and left the Pac-12 there. This Husky team in the last 3 years is 31-10. They've done an impressive job of winning at home, and I'm glad you brought him up because he's been impressive for me. Jonah Coleman has been absolutely dominant for them there, averaging almost 7 yards a carry. He is going to be our true test because as I was looking at this game, the one thing I was talking with someone about was how the Ohio State defensive line has just been the one consistent thing for the first 3 games. It was consistent against Texas, where it was confusing the daylights out of Arch. It was there for against Grambling, which they completely overmatched them, and then eventually wore down the Ohio Bobcats and their offensive line in that game late at night. And I was wondering, I go, all 3 of those programs, none of them I felt like had a great running back. Coleman's a really good running back that probably 75% of college football fans don't know about him because he plays in the Pacific Northwest right now.
Well, I'm at Arizona before too, so he's always been hidden.
Right. And Desmond Williams Jr. is completing over 70% of his passes. Hasn't thrown INT yet this year. 6 touchdowns on the year. he's been pretty impressive as well. I don't necessarily know if he has seen a defense like this. And I think that's the real intriguing part with Ohio State. My question going into the season wasn't about Ohio State's offense. I thought Simeon was a top 5 quarterback as he was recruited. There'd be a little bit of growing pains, but I thought he'd be okay over time. And it doesn't hurt when you have Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, you got Max Clare, you got some of these other wide receivers. You have the skills to grow into them. My question was the defense. As the season has progressed so far, that is kind of flipped. I have less questions about the defense. Arvell Reese looks like one of the best linebackers in the country with how that guy is flying around. He's the Buckeyes' lead tackler, and it seems like every time a big play is made, there's Arvell Reese in the middle of that. Same with Sonny Styles and that linebacking core that go along with the defensive line. What I need to see is the defense paired with the offense in this game. I need to see them jump out onto Washington 21-0 or 21-7 early on, and then eventually just put a stranglehold on the Huskies to kind of wipe off any confidence they have and break their will to play in this game. I don't think that's an easy thing to do, especially when you're traveling across country and going into Seattle, Washington. Now, again, I like Prince and the Revolution just as much as the next person, but Purple Rain is a little bit dated here, and at least it's better than the Purple People Eaters there. So I guess you got that going for you, which is nice. Other big name I want to see too, Bo Jackson, the true freshman running back, 18 carries on the year, 217 yards. Dude is averaging 12 yards a carry right now. I get it. He's done it against some slappies. So let's see him do it against a really good program here. I'm impressed by him, what I've seen so far. Kid runs the ball pretty hard there as well. Washington, if they can get after Sands only taken 1 sack on the year. If they can get after him, I think that this could be an intriguing game. Washington's going to have to play they have to play a near perfect game, but they're going to have to play a really, really good game to beat Ohio State. I like the Buckeyes to pull away in the third quarter. I would not be shocked to see this as a touchdown game in the first half. I would love to see the Buckeyes, though, go up 28-7, something along those lines. But I think it's going to be really close first half. Third quarter, you'll see Ohio State pull away. And again, I got them win by 2 touchdowns as well.
Yeah, I think this will be a chance for Ryan Day. Like, all right, everyone's watching 3:30. We've been off basically national television for 2 weeks. Let's go out there and restate that we are the reigning national champions.
Yeah. All right, Fresh. I'm excited for this one. I'm genuinely excited for this game to talk about because everyone knows that I'm a big fan of the scrappy underdogs. It is the 3-0 Arizona Wildcats. They are traveling to Ames, Iowa. I can't do state fair songs for Iowa twice in one recording there. So I won't do it. But Iowa State is 4-0 on the year. They're up to number 14 in the country. Right now, time to record spread is 6.5 for Iowa State. Over under set at 48.5. Again, most people are going to be like, oh, why are you guys talking about Arizona? Noah Fafita, 2 years ago, was a man possessed. He had the human Tetris game, and now he doesn't. And the kid's still balling out there fresh. I like this Arizona team, but also Iowa State is ridiculously good.
Yeah, I'm very excited here. My first thing I wrote down was Noah Fafita, 3-0. How much magic does he have left? Not having McMillan there. Coleman obviously transferring to Washington prior to last season. So 2 years ago, that was pretty intense and pretty lethal. It's kind of just down to him and a bunch of role-playing guys and Coach Brennan there trying to get to an off play. But 3-0 is 3-0. You never apologize for a win. But now we're going to find out what the Wildcats are all about. I guess because they were kind of tested by a bad Kansas State team in a quote-unquote non-conference game. But we're going to find out who they truly are, what's their mettle this week when they go to Ames. I expect them to play a little loose and sort of spread it out. But we're going to see the depth. We're going to see how last year they had a down year. How much did they actually develop on offense and defense to get them back to where they need to be? Because Jakarta Davis is now gone at corner. McMillan's gone at receiver. They've had some linemen get drafted in the past 2 years. So depletion of talent and the transfer portal, who have they refilled with to get Fajitas and weapons? I'm really just intrigued to find out what Arizona is truly about this week. On the other side, Iowa State won 3 FBS games by single digits. They haven't blown anybody out. They're kind of getting their feet. They're still trying to develop the receivers to replace the guys that got drafted, trying to replace some offensive linemen. Nothing flashy, haven't been dominant, but you know what? They win. And that shows me that they're mentally tough. They can play a full 60 minutes. They're going to grind it out. They're going to fight you the entire time. It's not going to be, we're going to go and blow up 35 minutes of lead in the first half and just chill. Our team's prepared to play a full 60. We are mentally tough. We've had to play almost every single down because every single down has had to mean something so far this season. We haven't had any vacation drives. That gives me confidence in the big games or these conference games that they can finish the drill. They can find ways to grind out a win. But the one worrisome thing as the season goes on, it does worry me they didn't put the boots to Arkansas State. Iowa game, I get. Kansas State in the opener in Ireland, I get. Hey, it works for me. But not putting the boots to Arkansas State at home, it kind of felt like that was, all right, let's unleash and take care of some pain. That has just a little bit of doubt in my mind that they've been good, but there's that book, going from good to great. Where are they at and how can they get to great? And they have to get to great by going in this game and putting Arizona down and putting them down quick and decisive. So where's this offensive line? Where's the zone running game? Using that 13 personnel with all the tight ends, come out there and just bludgeon the Arizona defense. Test their depth early, test their strength, test their abilities, make them rise to the occasion. You be the force and make them rise their game up to play on your level. Don't play down to their level and take care of business. In the end, we love Matt Campbell. I love Matt Campbell. I think they cover the 6.5. They win by a touchdown. But if not, we're going to have some serious doubts about Iowa State because Texas Tech and some other, and TCU and others in the Big 12 are looking good as well. So you got to come out here and take care of business. If you don't, it's going to creep a lot of doubt and it's going to let the blood out there in the water for the sharks to circle. And you're going to have to deal with that the rest of the year. Come out and make a statement on Saturday, Iowa State.
Fresh. Arizona. So I was thinking quite a bit about this team and everything that they have been up against probably in the last couple of years. They were successful, and then everyone kind of put that on the talent they had. They lost a bit to NFL. They lost their head coach, Jedd Fisch. And they're a basketball school. No one's going to sit there and give them a lot of credit. And a program like this is a lot like the band The Eagles. And you sit there and I think so much of the song Take It Easy. I'm standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. Such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford. Slowing down, taking a look at me. That's kind of how I feel about Noah Fifita. Noah Fifita is that girl in the flatbed Ford. He's one of those quarterbacks that you won't go out of your way to see. But the minute you get to see him in a game and see him play, all of a sudden you go, damn, who is that kid? Who in the world is that? Because he is the type of quarterback that can do everything. I look at certain quarterbacks that are like that. I take a look at Jalen Daniels, who's over there at Kansas. I take a look at Jackson, who we saw at UCF. And to quantify that, it's quarterbacks that you don't regularly watch, but when you do get a chance to see them, you're blown away by them. And you're, wow, that kid's actually really, really good. That's kind of how I feel about Arizona. If I'm Arizona in this game right now, because again, I'm looking at the rest of their schedule. They got BYU coming up and then Arizona State at the end of the year. But this really is my statement level of game. If I make a statement here and I can go into Ames, Iowa and beat the Cyclones here, I really have now announced myself into the Big 12. They haven't done that yet. You beat a lackluster, crappy K-State team that you went and beat up on Hawaii and Weber State. Do it versus Iowa State. I have a weird feeling about this game. Something doesn't sit right because everything I looked at, every statistical piece from Carson Hansen to Rocco Beck to the defense there tells me to pick Iowa State in this game. But like you, Fresh, I was really struggling to get over the fact that you beat Arkansas State by 8 points. And you're at Arkansas State. You should have walked off the bus, shake a leg out, and then boat race Arkansas State in that game. You didn't. Why? You've had 2 weeks. If there's injuries, you've had 2 weeks to get healthy. You've had a bye week this past week. Maybe it was the whole playing the week 0 thing. Maybe you're a little tired. I don't know what it is. You know what? I was up in the air about this, and I'm just going to go with it. Give me Arizona in the money. Give me Arizona straight up on this one. I got a feeling that Arizona is going to treat this game as the game. We got to win this one, because if they don't win this game, then they're pretty much out of the Big 12. Because they won't have the stature. They won't have a big time win. They really won't be able to have a big time win until the very end of the season. They could go undefeated with their schedule, and great. That still gives you an opportunity to get into the playoff. But again, you need this one more than anything else. I wouldn't feel like exuberantly confident about this one, but you know what? Call it a weird gut feeling. Maybe I'm dead wrong on it, but I'm going to Arizona.
Hey, I do have a question for you. Are you trying to earn an invitation to the Tony Awards or the Grammys with all of your references so far in this episode?
Not yet, but you kind of just been feeding them up to me as I'm going, as things you say back to me, I hear them and make reference to it. We'll see what happens with our next game.
We'll see.
It's as well. I also quoted Macho Man Randy Savage to start this as well about the cream rising to the top.
And did. You are using your supporting materials tonight.
Oh, yeah, all over the place. We'll see if I can figure out a movie here as well. And I do have an idea coming up here. All right, Fresh. The Oregon Ducks, they're traveling across country to Happy Valley. It's a 7:30 kickoff. Oregon is the number 16 in the country, 4-0 on the year, 1-0 in the Big Ten. Penn State, with all their hoopla and hullabaloo, they are 3-0. They're the number 3 team ranked by the AP. Right now, at time of record, Penn State is a 3.5 point favorite, over under set at 52.5. It's a whiteout. Oregon, I feel like this is the first time Oregon has to go into a truly hostile environment since joining the Big Ten.
That is a fact, since joining the Big Ten. But I think we also need to focus on Penn State is finally being tested after Nevada, SIU, and Villanova. It seems like opening round, second round, and a Sweet 16 matchup in the NCAA tournament from a basketball perspective, not from a football powerhouse role. So we're about to find out, James Franklin, what your team's all about. You've had all this hype now. It's been so great. Penn State this, Penn State that, returning all these running backs, turning Drew Alar, bringing in the receivers, Pena from Syracuse, etc. The defense is loaded. How they're going to make up for losing Abdul Carter. And hey, show me. Show me. It's 7:30 at night, NBC. Show me. Drew Alar, you've got to show up. You don't challenge anyone downfield. We talked about 2 weeks ago before the Tennessee game. There were 2 quarterbacks in the country had high completion percentage, but they never actually threw the ball downfield. One of them was Drew Alar. One of them was Gunnar Stockton. Both quarterbacks had a bunch of touchdowns. Neither of them threw an interception. Gunnar Stockton went out and threw the ball deep and hit some big throws when it mattered. I want to see what you do, Drew Alar. I want to see if you have the guts, the wherewithal. Well, you feel like you're a 10-year starter at this point. There's no youth in your game. You need to start showing people that you have the moxie. I love that word. The moxie to deliver in the clutch. So that's what I'm looking for on Saturday night. Oregon's dominated every opponent they've played so far. Hey, they may or may not have gotten technically Mike Gundy fired, but Happy Valley is a lot different than traveling to Evansville, Illinois, and playing in a rec field next to Lake Michigan. I want to see how Dante Moore and that entire team rallies together, galvanize themselves on the road. Are they focused? Are they built to make a playoff run? We saw last year they had a great regular season. They went and they kind of struggled the second half of the Big Ten championship, and they got smoked in the Rose Bowl by Ohio State. Now, historic Ohio State football team, dominant, really, really good. But it showed there was leaks and kicks in the armor there. You need to show you're able to take this game on the road outside of Allison Stadium and outside of Eugene, Oregon, and dominate legit premier football teams. Not the Northwesterns of the world, not the Oklahoma States of the world, not the Rutgers of the world, the Penn States, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Texases, the Texas Techs of the world. You've got to show up and get it done. I want to see where Dan's landing in that entire team, what you are truly made of. What's the entire core of this program? Are you Nike fast and Nike glitz, or are you blue collar and really put it in the work ethic? I'm going to find out how tough you are on Saturday night. Oregon's defense starting to show some growth and show some ability, but I want to see right now, can you put that into reality? Can you guys deliver? Can you tackle? Can you wrap up? Can you be physical? Can you get bloody and down and dirty with a Penn State program that is built historically on being tough? Linebacker U, according to most people, not me, but it's one of the best linebacker development schools in the entire country historically. They're known for physicality. They're known for running the football, offensive line, tight end, and defense. They're going to beat you up. Or are you willing to raise up and ring the bell and match their intensity, match their physicality? Come on, Dan Lanning. Come on, Oregon Ducks. Show me that. Both these teams got to show me something. I need to see something from this game. If it's 20-13, 20-17, you're showing me you're at level. If it's sloppy play on both sides, you're showing me something that I don't want to see. If it's a fast-paced offense, all right, I'm seeing offense from both these schools. These guys are willing to rise up and put on a show. But show me something that will produce dividends later on in December and January. One team has to win, one team has to lose. Is it a close game of two heavyweights that are really battling it out? It's going to be a one-score game? Or does somebody just blow the other one out and wipe them off the mat and show that they are vastly superior and the other one is what you call, for my esteemed co-host, Fraudville? We're about to find out. I don't trust James Franklin, but he does have a buffer. The pressure isn't fully on him. He has Ohio State and Indiana later in the year to make up. If you listen to Oregon, you have a chance to make up other games down the road and really build a resume and potentially make the Big Ten title game. The pressure is on Oregon to get it done because you have Indiana next week. Then you got Rutgers, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, USC, which is actually showing some promise. Washington will find out. You have a manageable schedule, but you need this game. If you don't get this game, Oregon, people are starting having doubts about you because you're not going to have that glamour game to make up. So I expect the Ducks to come in and ready to play. And I'm taking Oregon to beat Penn State because I don't trust James Franklin. He's going to do something stupid. He's going to shut his offense down in the second half like he normally does. He can make a bad call on third down decision in the second half. I trust Dan Lanning in his defense more than I trust James Franklin in his offense. Ducks win in a close one, 27-24.
Wow. I'm intrigued because I think we're going to learn a lot about both these programs. And I'm wondering, it's one thing playing at home fresh. It's one thing if Penn State was traveling up to Eugene, Oregon. And, most recently, the last time we had a game up in Eugene, Oregon, and the party that happened in the tailgate was held, that there was over 24 reports of individual acts that were so profound and so disgusting that decorum prohibits listing them here.
In Oregon?
Yes, and I'm specifically talking about the Delta House there. I'm glad that I got you on that one. So I'm glad this game is in Happy Valley. I'm glad that we're going to be able to see what Drew Allar is going to be doing. It's going to come down for me is whether or not Oregon is able to stop the two running backs. Again, everyone wants to put everything onto Drew Allar. And they always say, well, it doesn't do that. And again, there is some validity to those criticisms there. At the same time, too, when those two running backs get going, he doesn't have to do a ton. He doesn't have to throw the ball 15, 20 yards down the field. When you can lean on guys like Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, that's huge. When those two guys, okay, one guy's getting a little bit tired, I'm going to hit you with the other guy. And sooner or later, one of them is going to break off a huge run. This game comes down to Oregon's front four and whether or not they're able to hang with the Penn State offensive line. If they're able to do it, if they're able to put this game truly into Drew Allar's hands, then okay, let me see something here. Let me see who you're going to go to. You're going to go to Hudson. You're going to go to Pena. Is this going to be the game that Luke Reynolds turns into Tyler Warren from last year? What are we going to see out of this Allar? Because if you don't have the right game to lean on, then guess what? It's going to come down all to you. Coaching, I agree with you, Fresh. Dan Lanning, to me, has been one of the most successful offensive coordinators to take over the head coach position in the last 3 or 4 years.
Defensive coordinator.
Yeah, offense defense coordinator. The coordinators. Yeah. He has been the most successful there. I think he is the perfect guy to lead Oregon. I really do. I think that fit for him is like a glove. What he's done with Bo Nix, what he did with Dylan Gabriel, and now what he's doing with Dante Moore. Dante Moore is growing up. He really is. And I really wish he would have Evan Stewart over there this year, who's out for the season. Moore is looking like that top tier wide receiver. But again, I want to see a little bit more out of him. Malik Benson, want to see how he does against Penn State. There's a lot of youth on this Oregon team. That can go two ways. Either the youth can come into a game like a whiteout game in Happy Valley and the moment be too big for them. We see this all the time in football. We see this all the time in sports, especially when you have young kids playing in a game at Penn State and it's just that big of an environment. Or they're able to say, forget all this noise. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you that I'm better than you. And you go in and slap that team in the mouth. I agree with you that Oregon needs this game a little bit more than Penn State, but I think James Franklin needs this game just as much. I think he needs a game where he can look, a top tier team came into our house. Yeah, I know it's not Ohio State. It's not the Wolverines, but a top tier team came into our house. A top 10 team came into Happy Valley and we handled them and we put the boots to them. That's going to go a long way for James Franklin because I think his shtick is starting to get old. And I think that it's that whole, if not now, when? If not now, when? You have everything lined up for you, James Franklin. With all that being said, Fresh, Dante Moore has impressed me so much to start the season. Oregon has impressed me. Oregon, last second field goal, stuns the Nittany Lions in Happy Valley.
Quack,
last
quack,
second.
Mr. Ducksworth. Quack, quack, quack.
Quack, quack, quack. Gordon, stop quacking. All right, folks, we're moving to the last game that we got going on. It is in Athens, Georgia. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they're 2-1 on the season after that opening season beat down to Florida State. The Georgia Bulldogs have had a week off. They're 3-0, number 5 in the AP poll. They're 1-0 after their impressive come behind win against Tennessee. Right now, Georgia is a 2.5-point home favorite. Actually, it says right here the spread has gone up to 3.5 here.
3.5.
Okay, 3.5. Over under set at 52.5 here. Fresh, this is a big one. And I think this is, everyone's going to say something about the players. This is a big one for Kirby Smart. Kirby needs to beat Alabama in the regular season right now. He needs to do it. He hasn't done it in a couple of years. He needs to do this one. This one means a lot to him, and I think the players are going to feed into that.
Haven't beaten Alabama in the regular season since 2007, and I was in Tuscaloosa. Kirby finally getting the Tide between the hedges, big deal. Outside of that one frigid January night up there in Indianapolis, Indiana, been failed expectations one way or another, just can't get over the hump. Like Penn State has a problem with top 10 teams. Tennessee has a Georgia problem. Georgia has an Alabama problem. And I don't care where the game is played. It always just feels, whether the dogs are favored or the underdog, it just there's a cloud hanging over the game. Going into last year's game, I said I've never been more confident in a Georgia win over Alabama in my entire life going in. And they almost pulled it off on a massive comeback, but they couldn't seal the deal. This has to be a win. This has to be a full team effort. It has to be fans have to be involved. It has to be a full Georgia football program buy-in, a top to bottom elite play, elite fan, elite environment, elite everything from 11 a.m. I'll even give you 11 a.m. on Saturday till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Everybody has to be locked in and ready to do their job to get this win. Because if you don't, then now it's 2 wins for Kalen DeBoer over Kirby in both territories. And it really starts raising some questions of what comes into it. Now, looking at this ball game, back in the Tennessee game, Georgia struggled on first and second down, especially on defense. But on third down, they dominated offensively and defensively. They dominated third down. That's the reason why they were able to come back from the 21-7 deficit, take the lead a few times, and then also rally at the very end of the game and win. They dominated third down. They got off the field in the second half a lot. They were able to convert big third downs and make plays. The Dogs' biggest issue last year and some other times has been first down. Per at Brent Rollins, PhD on Twitter/X, what you want. Jalen Milroe in 2024 versus Georgia on first down was 14 for 15 for 288 in the touchdown. Riley Leonard versus Georgia on first down last year, 5 for 6 for 27 yards in the touchdown. Tennessee, Joey Aguilar versus Georgia on first down 2 weeks ago, 11 for 15, 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Georgia has a problem defensively on first down. You have got to solve that. Ty Simpson on first down so far in 2025, 28 for 35, 399, 5 touchdowns. If you want to break that out even more, when the last game versus Wisconsin, he was 11 for 13 for 232 and 3 touchdowns. And versus Florida State and UL Monroe combined, 17 for 22, 167, 2 touchdowns. If Simpson goes off on first down and Georgia's trends of bad defense on first down continues, this is going to add to an avalanche of bad things for the Dogs and a lot of sustained success for Alabama. Georgia has got to figure that out. Defensively, putting a lockdown, 1 or 2 yards is okay, but you can't be giving up touchdowns, big chunks on first down every single time. You've got to allow that to develop. That either has to come from Georgia finding a pass rush, which has been non-existent, or Georgia's secondary growing up very, very quick. The linebackers have been great. Interior defensive line has been solid. Where's the pass rush? Where's the secondary? You guys have got to get on the same page and start playing at a higher level and playing faster and making big plays to help this defense elevate and get off the field. Another issue we saw last week, the last game versus Tennessee, was Georgia's offensive line was going through some issues. We saw a lot last year. They maybe tried to find it with Bo Gaston and Hughley get on the field and shuffle some guys around. Can they play healthy? Can they play up to their high level this week and sustain and own the line of scrimmage? If they can, that allows the Georgia running game to get there, allows the Georgia passing game to continue to evolve and develop, sustain drives in the second half when it matters. Those are the big keys. Georgia struggles with mobile quarterbacks. Ty Simpson does have some legs, not Jalen Milroe's element, but he can get mobile and run. You have to be able to finally contain a mobile quarterback. Alabama also gets Jam Miller and Tim King back, both playing their debuts this season. We know who they are. They have great receivers, Bernard, Williams. They have a solid offensive line. They have playmakers on defense. Alabama, who is Alabama is. There's a lot of outside noise about DeBoer not being as disciplined. The players have a lot of penalties. But you know what? They've shown growth since the loss to Florida State. Can they take that next step and go on the road, battle hard, and ready to take on the Dogs with nothing to lose? The pressure's on Georgia. The pressure's on Kirby. Can they finally get way to get it done and take hold? If Alabama comes in and wins, they're back in the conversation for the playoff, and Georgia's now really reeling in a serious problem and has some serious problems ahead of them. So this is a program altering for both, because it also could put 2 losses for Bama or really put Georgia in a position where now you have a loss to Alabama. You can't get over the hump. People start questioning who you are. Very pivotal game between the hedges on Saturday night. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a grind. Can Georgia's defense sustain and get off the field quicker? Can they have a much more profound Georgia start and not fall behind early? That's what I'm looking for. I know this everyone wants it. Georgia wins by 3. It's going to beat down the emotions. It's going to go back and forth. Georgia will find a way because they're at home, but it ain't going to be pretty. You just got to win, survive, and advance. This is going to really test the mettle of the entire program on Saturday night in Athens. But Georgia wins by 3.
Fresh, I've been thinking a long time about what this game means. And I think one of the worst things that could happen to Georgia happened week 1 to Alabama. And that was Alabama getting just absolutely destroyed for 60 minutes in Tallahassee. It would have been better for Georgia, for Florida State to lose that game to Alabama, and Alabama come a little bit high on the hog and rest on their laurels. And I think the one thing that DeBoer misses is having that team, having an Alabama team ready to go from jump. I think they need to be smacked in the mouth to get someone ready to go. And that's what happened. You take a look at Ty Simpson. After the Florida State game, he is 41 for 46, 89% completion rate. I get it. Wisconsin is basically an FCS team right now under Luke Fickell and UL Monroe there. Yeah. Well,
Fraudville.
They're in disaster land. Okay. They're in disaster land. Fraudville means you have to be like perceived as good, but you're not really as good as perception. So, yeah. 608 yards. You see what he's done there in those things. And the thing I go back to is Joey Aguilar starting out, 14 for 14 or 15 for 15 at the start of the 10. Yeah, you can't do that. Georgia can't do that. You cannot let Ty Simpson get going. I think that there were some points in Tennessee that allowed you to come back on Tennessee. There are things that they were missing. There are all those things. You did it. You did it anyways. And you took advantage of the opportunity. Alabama, I don't necessarily think is going to give you that opportunity. You have to go toe to toe with them. This is going to be one of those fights that you're going to need to do. If this was Nick Saban, if this was a Nick Saban coached Alabama team and they were coming off of a loss to Florida State, they beat up 2 slappies to get ready for this game, I would have a hard time giving Georgia much of a chance in this game. But Nick Saban is going to be on College game day. And I still have never understood why Leonard Skinner from Jacksonville, Florida was singing about Sweet Home Alabama. If Alabama can throw the ball, if you can tell me that if Georgia can hold Ty Simpson to under 250 yards passing, Georgia wins this football game. Georgia right now is allowing 217 through the air. Ty Simpson's Alabama's going for 246 in there. As long as they stay in between those numbers there, I got Georgia winning this football game. I think that every Georgia fan I know will be on radio silent during this game. I think that you'll be off Twitter, X. I think you'll be off Facebook. You'll be off Reddit. You'll be off of every type of social media thing. And this could go one way or another. If Georgia loses, we may need to be doing wellness checks on everyone that's a Georgia fan. Just call your people, make sure they're okay. It's okay to do that. But again, Kalen DeBoer's the head coach there. I think this is going to be close. Less than a field. I think this is a field goal or less game. It's in Athens. I'll go with Kirby in this one because it's Kirby versus DeBoer. But again, I think this is close, and this is you're right. This is a very dangerous spot for both these programs to be in. Alabama, 2 losses on the year, basically needs to be perfect the remainder of their season to even sniff a playoff spot. Georgia, you lose this game and you have a thing about you now. There's a thing, you have this problem, and I think other people are going to exploit that as well. So, like I said, give me Georgia I'll go with the coaching on that one, but yeah, I'll be nervous.
Yeah, it's going to be Kirby, you and your entire Bobo, Kirby, Glenn Schumann, staff himself. You're going to get a lot of scrutiny if you can't deliver. So you've got to find ways to get your boys ready to go. Guys are going to be locked in, mentality monsters. And one thing that's European soccer, not to really show, but one thing they talk about, mentality monsters. And Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool, They had this thing where it didn't matter what the game was. They could go anywhere, but they had a mentality. They were just going to fight through and battle through and be victorious no matter how long it took. You've got to be mentally tough. And that's what the whole philosophy was. You've got to be mentally tough to deliver, not just physically, but mentally, because it's a full game and you've got to be ready for the whole grind.
Yeah. I mean, no bubble screen Bobo. No bubble screen Bobo.
You can give me like 5, but I don't need like 12. Give me 5. I don't need 12.
Yeah. Yeah. And when Billy Napier gets fired, Mike Bubble Screen Bobo rolls right off the tongue.
I don't want him anywhere near the forward.
I hate the bubble screen so much. We had this whole conversation at UCF how stupid the bubble screen is and never works. So, all right, Fresh. As you said at the top of the broadcast here, though, there are 4 other games here that we could go deep dive in, but we decided we weren't going to go deep dive in. But give me a quick thing real quick. Let's start over Louisville, who's undefeated, going up to Pitt. Interesting game there.
Quick hit. This is a quarterback game. Miller Moss for Louisville, Eli Holstein for Pitt. Offensive 2, Cade Bell, Coach Brom, 2 offensive geniuses, the offensive coordinators for both, head coach for 1. I want to see tons of points. I want to see which quarterback can withstand and find a way to pull the team out and get a big win. I got a quick hit for you. Talk to me about Auburn, Texas A&M.
All right, Fresh. My question is, how does Hugh Freeze get Jackson Arnold and this team to recover? Especially now that Oklahoma, the refs have come out and they've said, SEC came out and said, we made a mistake. You shouldn't have scored on that game. Yeah, it happened early. But again, you're going to hold on to that and being officiated. Then on top of it, this week, it comes out that John Mateer has hurt his hand that's going to require surgery. What does Auburn do? Does Auburn go into Texas A&M? Are they able to stop the run? Are they able to start Marcel Reese? I don't know if they can do that. Marcel Reed, one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC that I feel like no one talks about. Again, I'm going to throw him in that pool of Jalen Daniels, Noah Fafita, that group that no one talks about enough. I love that kid. Love to see. I want to see how Auburn responds and if A&M can get another big W. All right, Fresh. Tennessee at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's undefeated. Not a lot of people will realize that.
4-0. They have a big win of Arizona State earlier on a nice little miraculous play, but they owned the first half of that game. Tennessee struggles on the road, folks. We saw Arkansas lost last year. They got drubbed a couple of years ago at Carolina. They are not good on the road. They've got to be focused. They don't have much room for error. Can Mississippi State pull off the upset there between the cowbells? The one thing I do want to see from Mississippi State, I know they're going to have an offense, but can Mississippi State's defense get a stop in this ballgame? They've seen Aguilar enough. They've seen what the weapons are for Brazil and all those guys in the Tennessee offense. Can they get a stop and keep the balance in line? I'm looking at that. That's what I want to see. Not going to predict a winner, but those things I'm looking at in that ballgame. Can Tennessee have the mindset to find a way to win on the road? And can Mississippi State get a defensive stop and keep the momentum in their end, potentially pull off the upset? Last one I want to send back to you. Talk about being a lot of chaos. USC at Illinois. Both teams are ranked in the AP poll. One's reeling, one's trying to show some life. Tell me about it, Seth.
USC, offensively, they fit the bill of a Lincoln Riley team. Real offensive firepower. Jaden Maeva throwing the ball all over the field. Already has 1,200 yards, 70% completion ratio, 9-0 touchdown interception. Wayman Jones running the ball all over the place. Almost 8 yards a carry, 443 yards, 3 touchdowns on the year. The most impressive thing to me, though, as Lincoln Riley founded defense at USC, 16 sacks already on the year, 6 interceptions, fumble recovery as well. Are they able to hold Illinois' offense, and are they able to put a stranglehold on this team? Illinois, you got your teeth kicked in. You have 2 giant gaping holes in the middle of your mouth right now because of what Indiana did to you. So fill them in with some chiclets and look like adult from Dennis the Menace here. Are you able to show that USC is a paper tiger? If not, this could be the propel that USC needs and the downfall of Illinois.
Yeah, there's a lot of the line there. Illinois, how do you bounce back? That's what I really want to see. How resilient are you?
Yeah. All right, Fresh. What do you got for fresh picks this week?
Well, 4-3 of the year. Miami, Illinois, Hawaii, Utah all wins. Georgia Southern, NC State, and Pitt were my L's. This week, for some reason, somebody knows something, but Syracuse, money line, plus 165. They are the underdog versus Duke. Give me Syracuse Horns coming. Yeah, at home versus Duke, coming off a win over Clemson. I don't know. I saw plus 165 on the Hard Rock app on September 22nd. Boop, I put money on it. If it's still there from plus 165, that line hasn't moved, take it. Syracuse are beating Duke.
Awesome. I love it. Love it here, Fresh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to another episode of the Irrational Confidence Podcast. We're part of Spinnable Sports, so make sure you check out spinnablesports.com. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get notified every single time we drop a new episode. Special thanks to our producer, Drew. Without him, none of this is possible. Like, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Leave us that 5-star review because you guys know we're those 2 5-star prospects. Engage with us out there on social media. It's a good time. We enjoy interacting with you guys. And you guys got to lock in because we got some big time weekends coming up. I've circled that week 7, Fresh. That weekend is loaded.
Yeah. Week 6 is like, but week 7, week 8, week 9 through October is going to continue to escalate in games. The drama is going to keep building. Hit up with us. Follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. SpinnableSports.com. Subscribe to Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. Hit us up on any podcast platform. Spread the word, spread the love. Help build us our network. And until next time, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.